Hello, students, and welcome to Ms. Brown's 5-minute review of your social studies learning topics. This week we have been talking about the early people of North Carolina, particularly the early American Indians, and in the next 5 minutes I'm going to give you a recap of everything we have talked about in Lesson 1. So, Lesson 1. The first main thing that you need to understand, my students, is that there are 3 main language groups that the American Indian tribes, and the tribes are the groups of people, they are the groups of people who share the same language, land, and resources. That comes directly from your textbook. So, there are 3 main language groups that all the tribes can be divided into. They are either Sinoan, Araguaquan, or Algonquin. And I do apologize for any mispronunciations I say when I am doing this lesson. So, all the tribes in North Carolina can be divided into these 3 groups. I'm saying this a lot because this is something you need to remember. Hint, hint, hint. So, moving on. The tribes in the coast. So that's the first group that we talked about. There are a number of different tribes in the coast. The Tuscarora, the Waccamaw, the Hatteras, the Socotan. But because there were the same kind of resources around, they had similar ways of life. Obviously, if fish are plentifully available, a lot of the tribes are going to be fishing, things like that. So, the 3 main ways that they got their food: hunting, fishing, and farming. Hunting and fishing were mostly the men's jobs. There were differentiated jobs in the villages. Farming and preparing the food and also making clothes, that was more the women's jobs. The tribes also traded with each other. That's important to note. Do remember these 3. Now, moving down here, where they lived. Longhouses. This is the coast people. This is the coast people, and I'm going to highlight them blue because if you think about the coast, ocean, blue. So their house was long and rectangular. They used the poles made from young trees to make their house. So these are the poles. And then they covered it with bark. And we're going to pretend that this red here is the bark. And yes, they would cover it completely and make it much nicer than this looks. But for the purposes of our 5-minute lesson, that's our lesson. That's our longhouse. So, now, the peoples of the Piedmont, remember that's that middle region, which I will do purple. I'm not going to use green because the mountains, when we talk about mountains, that'll be green because of all the forests. So the Piedmont will be purple. They use the exact same building materials. They use these poles and the bark, but their houses had a different shape. All right, they're smaller, for one thing. They're much smaller, and they're more like a dome. Like this. And yes, you might be able to hear my cats playing in the background. In the next video where I have access to my webcam, I will let you see my cats, but right now I do not have access to my webcams. I'm sorry about that, students. I know you're excited to see them. So, the wigwams. They were also covered with bark. So, same materials, different shapes. That's what I want you to remember. Moving on, government. It's important to know that the Catawba and the Cherokee both had a government that was very democratic. Now remember, government is a system for making decisions for a group of people. That's from your notes. A democracy is a government in which the people have a voice in making decisions. That's also from your notes and from your text. So the democracy means that everybody was involved in decision making. So that's important to remember. Both of these groups use that kind of government. The Cherokee down here, also important to remember. This group here, we had a whole couple pages on them. They have ceremonies to honor special events. They also had a confederation, which is a government made up of smaller groups that work for the same goal. So all the smaller groups and tribes made up the Cherokee Confederation. Now remember, within each tribe, there were clans or family groups. So the clans, you had the clans. We'll do it with this. So you have the clans, which went to the tribe, the main tribe, the council, the village. This is the tribe level, what the council is, the village level. And then above that would be the confederation. And this, students, concludes our 5-minute review of what we have learned this week, what we talked about this week. Tune in next time for our Unit 2, Lesson 2 review, where we talk about exploration and settlement. Also be on the lookout for more science videos as well, and eventually when I get my webcam working again, we will have cat pictures as well. I know you guys are looking forward to meeting my two little crazy furballs. Until then, enjoy studying, and I will see you the next day we have school. Bye.